Welcome back to part 6 of Blue Jean Dream, a steampunk jewelry tutorial. And in this particular episode, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and do the really fun part. We're going to add all our embellishments to the necklace. Now you can pick any type of bead you want. As you can see here from our bead tray over toward the left, I picked a lot of turquoise beads. The reason being, I think it goes really well with the scheme, the actual pendant, and the colors that I used in the inks, and also this particular piece. So I'm just sort of laying out the beads. You don't have to have a particular type of bead. You can pick any that you want. You can use more crystal elements. You can use the Swarovski. I have such a hard time saying that. Anyways, you can use any of those if you like. Pretty much any type of bead that you want to put onto these chains will work. And all I'm doing right now is kind of laying out where we're actually going to place the beads and the embellishments. Now, one of the other things that I'm going to do either in this tutorial or later on in another particular episode is we're going to actually punch a hole through the blue jean and pull our chain through. So right now I'm sort of keeping that in mind and sort of just placing these beads in a particular position with our bead caps and everything here, just so that I know I'm going to pull the chain through the blue jean part of the material, both to keep the twist permanently in the necklace and also just to add kind of a different little bit of pizzazz to it. So all I'm doing now is picking different types of bead caps and beads. And like I said, you can use any beads that you want. Of course, as you can see here, I've got some kind of brownish, almost bronze colored of the crystal elements. Either the Czech crystal or the Swarovski crystal work great, and that'll really make it sparkle. And remember, we put a little bit, we will put a little bit of glitter onto the blue jean material itself, as well as add some other more decorative elements to it as well. And of course, as you can see, our pendant is still drying, and we've added some glitter and rhinestones on that, so that'll really bring out a lot of shine and sparkle to the necklace too. So I'm just going through and picking. I have sort of some turquoise colored beads, and you want to mix it up. You don't want to just, and I shouldn't say that because I shouldn't force my opinion on you, but I think it looks better when you do have different types of beads, unless you're going for something very almost monochromatic, which in a way we kind of are, because we are using a lot of turquoise in this to sort of go with the blue jean texture, but also we're mixing up the kind of antique bronze color by getting some more bronze beads and antique bronze bead caps. But another way you can sort of mix it up with keeping the same color scheme, as you can see, I have some of the solid acrylic beads as well as some of the actual turquoise rounded beads, the smaller ones there, but I also have some crystal looking beads too. So the different textures, while they're still in your same color scheme, will give the necklace a little more flair and a little bit of variance. So you're not just completely, oh, I have one bead across the entire necklace. And sometimes that may be the look that you're wanting to go for. We're going to use a hooked eyelet. As you can see here, this is just an antique bronze hooked eyelet. Doesn't matter if they're bent, because we're going to bend them anyway. You'll often get them kind of bent or misshapen in the packages when you order them. It's just sort of the way it goes. But it's not a big deal because we have our pliers and we can always bend those out. And the reason that I'm using the eyelet head pins is because it's a lot easier just to go ahead and attach a jump ring or another head pin or something to it if you're going to have a lot of items that are going to dangle or they're like drops. So we are going to do some drop settings, especially with the bottom turquoise stone, because that's actually going to attach to the pendant. So right now I'm just going ahead and picking the head pins. If you don't have the eyelet head pins, that's completely fine, because as long as you have like a round set of jewelry pliers, then you can make your own. It's just, for me, it's just easier. It's already done, so I just pick those out. Now your head pin size will really depend on your bead size. Now you can see these turquoise beads that are kind of almost like an oval shape. They're going to need longer head pins than, say, the smaller beads, but it also depends on how many beads you're planning on putting on a particular head pin and for that particular part of your piece. So you need to consider that when you're laying out your beads, what size head pins you need. It's always a good idea to keep different lengths around. And remember too, if you're not really sure what you need, get the longer head pins, because you can always cut them and use the smaller pieces for other things. So it's better to have a little bit more than not enough. So all I'm doing now is placing the bead cap, on the head pin between another bead cap. And these are just small antique bronze daisies is what they're called. And all I'm going to do is go ahead and add an additional loop to the bottom of my head pin here. And what that will do will make it easier for me to go ahead and attach. Helps if I don't drop everything on the floor. Go ahead and attach the head pin to the next part of the necklace. So all you do, you're just going to bend it around. And you can use pliers in both hands. I'm one of those people, a lot of times I just prefer to use my hands. It's really up to you. There's no right or wrong way. It's whatever's the most comfortable for you. I always go ahead and bend it, and you have a loop there, and you can see the two little daisies. And it just kind of makes them look a little fancier than just the plain bead. You don't have to use daisies. You can use any kind of bead cap that you want, or you can even use what they call seed beads, smaller beads, to sort of cap off that bead and give it a decorative finish. And then we're just going to go ahead and trim and cut that little loop, and then we can bend that wire back into place and actually attach that to the chain or the jump ring, whichever way you want to do it. Everything's escaping today. That's where the bead palette really comes in handy a lot of times too, because all your stuff doesn't roll away. It's on felt. It's nice too if you just want to throw felt on your workspace as well. It's another really inexpensive way to sort of keep everything from rolling off your workspace. I'm going to go ahead and just attach this directly to the chain. You can put it on a jump ring if you'd like it to have more movement or be able to turn it a certain way, but for this particular piece I'm just going to go ahead and add it directly to the chain. Again, you don't have to do it this way. You can place it on a jump ring if you prefer, and then put the jump ring on the chain. But I have this particular piece, with this piece in mind, I really want the pendant to stay in a certain direction and not move too much. So I'm going to go ahead and really make sure that the location is secure. And you just close it out. Again, you can do this with a pair of jump ring closing pliers if you want, or just the bent nose pliers. It's just easier for me personally to work with the bent nose. It's really a preference. You can use any kind of pliers that you want. Whatever gets the job done. There's not a right or wrong way. It's whatever's most comfortable for you. And sometimes it is a little difficult to get these closed, which is probably why you want to hold the end head pin with the other pair of pliers, because it'll keep it from moving. But sometimes for me it's just easier to manipulate with my hand, so that's why I do it this way. I just want to make sure that that's nice and secure, and that's where we will attach our pendant. And now we're going to go ahead and do the decorative parts, the smaller bead settings. And what I'm going to do here is just add the small turquoise round beads in a cluster with the crystal beads capped off with some different types of bead caps. Like I said, I like to mix up the different settings so that it's not so too quote-unquote samey. And then we just attach that to the chain there. And then, like I told you in previous videos, you probably will be removing and altering some of your chain. And here I'm just going to go ahead, and I got our little setting there, which it's just basically a looped head pin, a round bead, a bead cap, the crystal bead, another bead cap, and a round bead. And then I closed off the head pin. And now I just attached one part of it to the chain, and I'm going to open up this other link and attach this other portion of it to the chain. And this just gives it, you'll have to take into account, that's why you want to kind of take some links out because you don't want it to be too long. So I'm just taking some of these links out, and then I'm going to attach it, because we did, originally just put the chain by itself. And if you want to keep it that way, that's completely fine. I just decided I would like this to be a little dressier than it is. But if maybe you're going for a more casual piece, you may not want all of the sparkly beads and sort of the glitzy look. So it's really up to how you want to design your piece. And with this one, though, I wanted it to have a little more sparkle. So I take into account the amount of chain that the length of these beads, and then I remove the appropriate amount of chain. So I try to keep it about the same length, especially on both sides. So you just want to constantly measure and look. Now you can use a simple tape measure, or you can eyeball it and just hold, like for example, you would hold from the middle bead setting, that large turquoise bead, and then look at both sides of the chain and make sure that they're, about equal. And so we'll just go ahead and get this attached. And open up this jump ring a little bit here. And I'll just open this up as well. And what I'm actually doing on this one is I went ahead and decided to go ahead and open the larger jump ring and just attach it there, so that this is actually the end piece. Like I said, sometimes you have to go backwards to go forward. So kind of when you're creating your own pieces, you don't get frustrated. I mean, if you have to move things around or you have to change things, that's okay. I mean, that's what art's about. You always can alter it and get it to the point where you really love it. So all I'm doing now is I'm just adding the beads here. I'm just going to go ahead and add a jump ring so it'll move a little freer. Sometimes you'll find that adding the links directly to, especially the larger jump rings like that are pretty thick, you almost always have to put another jump ring to it. You don't want it to be stiff either, because that makes it very easy to break. So I'm just going to go ahead and close off this jump ring here and just add it to our larger ring. I'll just move this chain out of the way for now. I'll just slip this one back on. And again, you may adjust them again. You may decide that you want the other chain toward the bottom. And like I said, that's not a problem. It's completely fine. So we've got this one end ready. And in our next tutorial, we'll go through some other embellishments that we can add to this piece. And we really appreciate you watching, and hope that this was helpful and, sort of gives you your own ideas on some different pieces that you can make as well. So don't forget to subscribe, and we appreciate your watching. And if you have any questions, make sure you leave them in the comments, and we'll get back to you as soon as we can. Thanks!